Okay, call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning in person, and we already do have a few people online. And I guess this will be our first meeting of the new year. And okay, we'll do something just slightly different. Before we have a moment of reflection, we'll ask Cody to give us all the technicalities of Zooming in or joining us online. Cody, please.
Thank you. And through you, before I begin, if at any point you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the meeting ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both members of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically to speak. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being held in 2 locations, both being held on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation, if any, must be done through Zoom and cannot be done through YouTube at this time. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance at any point during the meeting, you can send a chat message to myself, Cody Hewlett, and I will attempt to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cody. And I'd ask if you could please rise and join me in a moment of reflection before we continue. I'll ask if there are any member has a declaration of peculiar interest or the general nature thereof. Seeing none, it can be declared at any time if it does arise. I'd just like to say, yes, our deputy mayor is joining us online today. I think it was a bug that was picked up well before New Year's, apparently, Tom, and hopefully have speedy recovery. And a couple of other ones are still slightly under the weather as well, too. Councillor Shea gives his regrets. He's going to be a few minutes late, but he will be joining us hopefully soon. With that said, we do have a couple of delegations this morning. And our first delegation, is a presentation from Travis Forrest from VG Architects, who are working on our police services building and getting that moving forward for us. So just as an update, is Travis online, Cody?
I am online. I can share video now.
Okay. Well, welcome this morning, Travis. We don't, there you are.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for joining us, and looking forward to the update of where we're at and how soon we can see the construction of our building come into fruition. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Travis. The floor is yours, sir.
Sure. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Carl had asked me to attend this morning just to give an update on where things are and where we feel things are going to be moving forward. As you know, we had taken over this project from a previous consultant, and we've been asked to complete their documents and bring this project to fruition. So in doing that, just to give everybody a bit of a background of what we've been doing to date, we did an intense and in-depth review of the existing drawings and specifications. We did bring on board as our consultants the existing engineering consultants that were involved with the original design, which helped immensely. However, we did find there was extensive drawing, I guess we'll call it amendments or revisions required. And there was a 9-page document that was provided outlining our findings in that, and reviewing obviously the specifications, There's extensive work required and essentially rewriting it. We only have a PDF of the specifications, which is fine. So we've been doing in the process of doing that as well. I think there was some part of what I'm explaining here is the time lapse from the spring until now, and sort of an explanation of what's been going on and why. So in doing all of that, we were able to prepare the documents to a point where we could then go out and get a Class C costing as was required of us. And what we were finding at that time and even till today is there's been an increase in demand for public sector projects to require a professional costing done. And unfortunately, the number of costing consultants available to us is not increased to meet that demand. So we really have a handful of cost consultants available, and as a result, they're all finding they're swamped. And what used to be maybe a week and a half to 2 week turnaround on a class C costing, even today we're being told is it's a 4 to 6 week turnaround just due to the volume. So I'm sure as we see more cost consultant firms opening up around the province, then that'll get reduced. But as it was at the time, it was approximately a 5 week turnaround in costing, which was a bit of a hit to our timeline, but nevertheless, that was completed. The other main, I don't want to call it issue, the main challenge that's been presented more recently is in the beginning of December, we were asked to accommodate the further developments on the site and making adjustments to our site plan to accommodate the ambulance station as well. So we were provided that information. We were able to draft out a rough site plan to get to our consultants. Unfortunate part about that is the site had been completely engineered from a civil engineering standpoint. So they're looking at a complete rework of their engineering, which is another bit of a time impact. Nevertheless, we have been working through that, and the timeline that this is the information you're looking for today, is the timeline that we're working towards now is to complete the tender-ready documents near the end of February. We expect the project can be posted for tender within the month of March and close within the same month. And if everything goes smoothly, get the contracts in place and have the contractor on site, within the month of April, or at least get contracts in place. So we expect the project of this side would be, a 14 to 16 month period. I would be optimistic and say 14-month construction time, which would place us, our construction from spring 2024 to summer of 2025 would be our expected completion at this time. And I think that brings us up to today.
Thank you, Travis. And I'm just wondering if you have any time for questions, if there are any questions from any of the members of council here today.
I do have some time, and I'll do my best.
Excellent. That was the cue. If there's any questions, people. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the new year. I know. Retraining again for council members. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Just curious, given that the tender won't go out until March and ends by the end of March sort of thing, what's the prospect that we will even be able to get a contract at that time, given that things seem to be backed up and that it seems to be late in the year? There's a possibility that there won't be available tenders out there or contractors to do the job. Do you have a feel for that? Thanks.
Yeah, we've noticed within the past 6 months that there's been increased interest in tenders. the feeling is that you know, we know over the past couple of years, contractors have been extremely busy and very selective on the projects they involve themselves with. We've noticed lately, though, that there's been a greatly increased interest in any tenders going out. So we expect that, you know, the timing on this one will not be impacted as much as maybe it would have been in the last 3 or 4 years.
Anyone else? Councillor Townsend. Doug Wong.
Thank you. And this is just more of a comment, I guess I'll make, Travis. It's from the taxpayer on the streets perspective. The police station was at the tender point when the previous council pulled the plug on it, you know, well over a year now, year and a half. Yet they were at the tender point, yet here we are a year and a half later, and we seem to be back to, you know, square one -3. And it just seems it's a frustration that as a councillor, we're hearing on the street from the taxpayer saying, this thing was ready to go with the previous council, yet you guys can't seem to get it off the ground. So it just I guess I'm trying to instill the urgency that we need to see to try and move this project ahead as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Yes, and that's been relayed to us extensively by Carl, and we understand that. We definitely understand that perfectly as we're doing these projects all the time. You know, it's unfortunately the documents as we received them were not something that we would be willing, I guess, to put out on the street for tender. I don't want to get into the particulars. There was a 9-page review that we had done that we had submitted, and there's, you know, there's further work beyond that, but we are now at a point where that's, you know, things are getting buttoned up and we're getting ready to go out. And I think the main more recent issue is just the redesign of the site that's caused a big delay with our civil engineer, and that they have to rework their drawings for that. And once that comes back, there may be some minor coordination that has to be done with the other consultant team that's working on the ambulance station as well. We expect that to be minor. We've already been in contact with them as well, just going back and forth, and we'll be providing them with our completed civil design for coordination.
Okay, anyone else? Well, thank you for joining us, Travis. And it looks like we are moving forward as it seems like, though, as the commercial on TV, it's not at light speed, it's maybe just at cable speed, but we are still moving forward here. So appreciate that. And seeing no other questions from any of the council members, again, thank you for joining us this morning, and we'll let you get back to work and get moving on to this. Hopefully the snow will let up and we'll be able to move forward even before April. So good.
Yeah, you never know. Always good to be optimistic, and thank you very much for your time this morning as well.
Very good. Have a great day. Bye now. Okay. First delegation. Second delegation we have this morning, Tom Allwood is joining us this morning here from the Multiple Municipal Energy Working Group. Have a few questions on battery energy storage systems. Tom's, I think, evolved from, it used to be the Municipal Wind Turbine Working Group, but it's all under green energy and whatnot. We've had an application and are very appreciative, Tom, of you joining us this morning and giving us an update from some of your background work in your group and what is known about the battery energy storage program that's out there. So the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. My name is Tom Elwood. I'm a councillor for the municipality of Grey Highlands and the current chair of the Multiple Municipal Energy Working Group. Thank you for the opportunity to delegate to you today in beautiful West Grey. Next slide, please. The working group was originally focused on industrial wind turbines, but given the independent electrical system operator's requirement that any new electricity generation be available on demand and for a minimum of 4 hours duration, storage becomes part of the process with renewables. Next slide, please. We all recognize there is a requirement to increase our grid supply. The IESO's latest RFP process includes 6,200 megawatts of battery energy storage systems. Is this an issue for West Grey and Grey County? Well, we have the Sparrow Storage project, a 100 megawatt BESS project proposed on 15 acres of agricultural land in West Grey on County Road 28 at concession 18. The Orchard Storage project in Meaford, another 100 megawatt BESS project, 300 meters from the Grey County offices in Owen Sound. Next slide. These are some of the many battery energy storage system projects being proposed that the IESO has identified in their December 11th press release that will form the storage fleet that will be complemented by the next round of non-emitting electricity generation procurement that targets up to 5,000 megawatts of generation, including new wind, solar, hydro, bioenergy, and renewed, upgraded, and expanded existing facilities. Next slide, please. As part of the RFP process, the proponent will be required to obtain a municipal support resolution. Municipalities will be asked to make substantive decisions with very little information. Next slide. Battery energy facilities present a significant fire risk that may require an emergency response that may be well beyond a rural fire department's capability. Under the Fire Protection and Prevention Act, municipalities that establish fire departments are required to provide that fire protection service and shall determine their capability and capacity to attend an emergency. The FPPA requires the Office of the Fire Marshal to provide public safety and technical guidelines to municipalities and ministries. These guidelines are not in place. Next slide, please. In Australia, a fire at one of these types of facilities took 150 firefighters 4 days to get under control. In Southern California, a BESS fire required a 400-meter evacuation zone and an 800-meter shelter indoor zone. Next slide, please. Hydro One is concerned enough that they have drafted a BESS fire protection risk and assessment standard for their infrastructure. Next slide, please. Again, municipal support resolutions include a responsibility to evaluate these projects. There is a risk and management issue. Joint and several liability needs to be considered. Next slide, please. Here are some of the concerns and setbacks primarily concerned with fire risks that are included in the Hydro One standards to protect their infrastructure. You've got hazard mitigation analysis, fire risk assessment, fire protection and design documentation, and emergency response plans. Next slide, please. When we consider toxic gases and public safety, 400-meter evacuation zones and 800-meter shelter indoor zones were required in California. Next slide. The new draft provincial policy statement allows BESS facilities as an on-farm diversified use. There is no size restrictions. The Sparrow and Orchard BESS storage projects each require 15 acres of agricultural land. Protecting our agricultural land is a requirement in our official plans. Next slide. Again, there is minimal information to public consultation. The Sparrow Project held one public meeting in Newstead, and I believe there were 9 people at that meeting. The Orchard Project that is actually in Meaford, but 300 meters from Grey County's offices in Owen Sound and 150 meters from residential housing in Georgian Bluffs, had one public meeting in Bogner. No public meetings in Owen Sound or Georgian Bluffs. Next slide, please. Informations municipalities should have and consider. Define setbacks to protect adjacent users. Define emergency response requirements. Source of the water supply for emergencies. Again, 4 days with 150 firefighters is copious amount of water required, not to put fires out, but basically to stop adjacent facilities. You know, there's 100 CCAMs in these 100 megawatt facilities on 15 acres. When these lithium battery fires start, oftentimes you can't put water directly on them, and you're basically saving the infrastructure, the adjacent infrastructure. But the other issue is that a lot of this technology is proprietary, so the manufacturers and proponents are not sharing that proprietary information with local fire departments or providing the training that's required. So the source of water supply for the emergencies is a concern in rural communities. Limits on noise emissions. Again, if you're close to residential or any other noise receptor, you've got to consider that these things need to be cooled 24/7. So there's some sort of noise setback. Again, no standard in place. Another huge issue is that they have a lifetime of about 20 years. There's no decommissioning requirement in their contract with the IESO. So the decommissioning would fall on either the lease, or if the land that's being leased, or potentially back to the municipality. And something else that happens a lot, we've seen with the wind turbine projects, is that the initial ownership and corporate structure changes over the course of the lifetime of the project. And we need to be sure and protect ourselves that at the end of that 20-year life cycle, the corporate structure has some holdback or provision to decommission these sites, because with wind turbines, and I think the Premier of Alberta said it's over $1 million to decommission a wind turbine when you consider the physical structure above ground and the probably 850 tons of concrete that are required for the base. So that process for change in ownership is an issue for all of these green energy projects. The incentive up front usually, especially with the wind turbines in the early days, was there was a lot of incentive to build these things, and the corporate structure at the time took advantage of that. I know the ones in Grey Highlands are actually maintained by an offshore company from France. Some of these battery energy storage systems, again, there's multiple corporate structures involved. The design and permitting phase is done by one organization, and they're built oftentimes by offshore companies. Next slide, please. So in summary, best technology is new and rapidly evolving. Limited direction is provided at this point from the provincial level. Limited information is provided to municipalities. In supporting these projects, issuing building permits, municipalities are making substantive decisions. The bottom line is municipalities have the right to decline support for these projects. Next slide. Thank you for that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks very much, Tom. And not quite at the point yet, but you did make a presentation at County Council, so maybe myself and the Deputy Mayor are slightly ahead. We've heard from you once already, so
Right.
And have had a number of questions already asked. So I don't have any questions, but does any of the rest of the council have any questions? this point in time. Sorry, Joyce, Councillor Noon, go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. But this question is more geared to our fire chief. With having a volunteer groups of like fire departments in West Gray, and if something like this were to be allowed in West Gray, how do you feel that would factor your fire department if a call out was needed based on all the factors that was presented today, how it could factor trying to put out a fire or to keep on top of that devastation at the time. So if we could just get your input for that.
I know you've got a big voice, but it doesn't carry quite that far. I know. Thanks, Phil.
So a fire of this magnitude wouldn't be any different than fighting, like, say, Durham Furniture or something like that. After so many hours, when we have to change guys out and we don't have enough guys, we'd like to activate mutual aid. Copious amount of waters. If it's in a rural area, that's a problem. We need to have a water reservoir of some sort. Fighting a fire for 4 or 5 days with something this small, because if it's in a sea can type container, it is small. My biggest concern is what comes off in the runoff and the poisonous gases. Right now, you're looking at total evacuation of 500 meters. That's half a kilometer, and shelter in place for everything up to a kilometer. So, I mean, with the bigger picture on a fire pre-plan, you'd have to have ground zero, and you'd have some circles driven on a map, and those people would have to be aware that if there's an issue, they're going to have to leave their house for 4 or 5 days, and that should be something that's done ahead of time. But anyways, as far as fighting the fire, we're well equipped with equipment. The biggest factor would be the copious amounts of water, and if it's going where I think it is, there is water there, but it's also a if it's going where I think it is, it's also a very environmentally tender spot, so to say, because of what is in the area. There are some nice fresh springs in that area and that, but anyways, yeah.
Yes, that answered my question, but I too am concerned about the environmental factor on how this type of development could impact on West Gray's environment. Thank you.
Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Tom. Just curious, we did have this group come to us and we did endorse it, not knowing all the details at the time, but that's the early stages. What's the process from here on in? Because I know with the wind turbines, council didn't seem to have a whole lot of control of what happened and where it happened. Is this going to be the same process, or is there a little bit different in terms of how much weight council has on this project?
The situation is a little different with these projects. Now, municipal support is required, basically. The projects are ranked, so when the RFP process goes out there, you get points awarded for municipal support, if Indigenous support is required, things like that. But the current provincial government has basically put the siting process back in the hands of municipalities for any of these projects, whether they be wind turbines or battery energy storage systems. And I want to be clear that, we're not suggesting that these aren't good solutions to our climate change issue moving forward. What concerns us is that the setbacks for wind turbines are appropriate, that the setbacks and fire safety and environmental issues with battery energy storage systems are appropriate. I didn't really touch on in my presentation there, but your fire chief mentioned it. There are, copious amounts of water. There's chemistry and stuff involved in these battery systems. So the runoff from the amount of water required to control these fires is extensive. It's one CCAN maybe that where it starts, but there are 100 CCANs in this, in a 100 megawatt type facility. The toxic gases and, you know, are life-threatening potentially to our firefighters. You know, so the OFM needs to come forward with some sort of training and information in place. But no, the municipalities basically will have siting. So, you know, your OP will have to permit it, your zoning bylaws, and things like that. But again, it brings forward the whole issue of liability again with your risk assessment. Joint and several liability, as we all know, as municipal councilors, is an issue. Municipalities can be held 1% responsible and be on the hook for 100% of the cost. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry.
So just, yeah, I think you more or less answered my question there. I was at that meeting that they had in Newstead, and they're, yeah, very small turnout. There were a lot of questions raised that you've already mentioned. They talked about, you know, location. It's actually in a floodplain. That's where they're talking about building. You know, they asked about noise. They asked about gas and so on. So the residents are aware that there could be some issues here. So I think that's important that we look at that one going forward and see, you know, is it in the right place at the right time, sort of thing. So yeah, there's some concern out there for sure. So thank you.
Anything further? It is, again, something new. Hopefully we can get the information we need going forward. For anybody that's out there that's listening, I don't think it's gone out yet for the province awarding these. So we're still on the front leading edge of it as of yet, and maybe get some of these questions or concerns answered and things in place if it was to go forward. So we will see and keep a very close eye on it, as I think your group will continue to do, working with IESO and the energy source through, and as we go forward, trying to capture on the climate change and everything else, how this is going to move along in a safe manner for the community at large, I think is our biggest concern for sure. So again, thank you very much, Tom, and
Thank you for the opportunity today.
yep, appreciate that.
Good.
Okay. Our third delegation. I think that is the limit, isn't it, Mr. Clerk? We only allow 3, so first meeting of the year, you've already lined 3 up for us, eh? Very good. Adam Kroll. Adam is, I still think, president of the West Grey Lacrosse Association. And welcome this morning, Adam. And I'd just like to say, the West Grey Lacrosse has been, is what we would say relatively new into the lacrosse world. 5, 6, 7 years the lacrosse has been going.
There we go. First time using this.
You're not technically challenged. You're very good at it and have been very successful. So you want to bring a couple of issues to keep that success rolling for us today, and the floor is yours.
Sure. Well, thanks for receiving me in last minute. I did make a phone call quick to get in. I didn't realize the timeline, so I appreciate it. Actually, could I address the statement of lacrosse being relatively new? 1878, there were junior programs of lacrosse. It's in the Durham history book, actually.
West Grey minor lacrosse. That was Durham and
that was
Norman
actually Durham.
Hayden, and yes, but West Grey minor lacrosse. Yeah.
I'm not too sure the history behind the, I just know in the book it said Durham. In the paper, 1904, Victoria Day also claimed that lacrosse was the chief attraction. Can I say in the town of Durham? Again, okay. So lacrosse actually has been around for a long time. I do have from Ron Murdoch a ticket, 1924 Durham lacrosse club was putting on a dance, and to bring an extra lady was 25 extra cents. I don't know how many ladies that you'd want to bring but without getting in trouble. So there's quite a history of lacrosse, and actually, if I went back to, I do a lot of schools, presentations and history of lacrosse in the school too. And if we wanted to go way back to our First Nations, it's actually a regional cultural sport. And it's big in certain pockets in Ontario, very historic in certain pockets in Ontario. So our little quick history, I know I only have 10 minutes, but a quick history for our stuff is we started in 2015, little rogue outfit, went on the floor in the arena. 2008, we grew in 2018. I presented for council, helped us out immensely with nets, shot clocks, floor time. I think we had 78 kids there. Next year, granted into the OLA, full-time, 100 and some odd kids, but fast forward now, 237 kids last year. 3 provincial banners. So I guess my point is we're not really a flash in the pan at this point. So, okay, so where we're at right now, I do have some requests for the new Stat Arena. Ayton Arena technically isn't available till after June. Now, I wish I was asked to be at that meeting when that decision was being made. Quick Feet being outside, well, from outside of West Gray, and they're for profit. So I would have had a little bit of an argument there, or we would have had a question. But anyway, we still have Newstat, but not Newstat. We can't play games there, and a couple issues that came up. No penalty box, no timekeeper booths. Stanchions between the lobby glass and the floor glass. There's actually no continuation of the arena glass. So the stanchions are probably about 4 inches come out. Now the balls can, it's a safety issue for sure. Now lacrosse is a contact sport, and that wouldn't be cool. But anyway, we could possibly put the kids on at lower levels. But still, we have a non-conforming arena. If there was a complaint to the Ontario Lacrosse Association, we could not play there. So we're out of luck there. What essentially is we have used up all our time in the Durham Arena. Games practices from basically May, well, from when the ice is out till August 1st. We used up all the time except weekends. Being a summer sport, we try to stay away from weekends, give parents and everyone a break. So we don't enforce that, but it is a possibility. So back to Newstat, lines on the floor. We did start with lines on the floor, and another group had pulled them off. So I think we should paint them if that's okay. Another upgrade would be the Wi-Fi. This was brought to me in our last executive meeting. All our games are on iPads, the game sheets, and that's the same as hockey, same as everything. And our registration for walk-ins on the tri-sessions, that has to be done all online. As it sits right now, I don't think we have Wi-Fi there. And when we do get up and running for games, we do have probably 50 parents per game. It's a well-attended sport. It's a warm arena, basically. So there are lots of people that come out and see it. If you've ever been to some of our junior games in Durham, we invite Owen Sound down. We can basically fill the arena. Yes, so there is no stands. Yeah, I know this is going to keep going here. So, but that's the Newstat Arena issue that we do have. Essentially, what's happening is, as we're trying to run a house league runs from beginning of May until school is out, so June. We have no space for it, no time, and Newstat isn't really up to stuff. We are also doing a field trial this year. As of sits right now, the Durham Soccer Club has denied our use of the they don't want us to use the Durham soccer fields. I think they say that we'll run up the surface and stuff like that. I do understand that, but that leaves us nowhere for our field trials. We're fully expecting in 2025 a full team in season, and that's spring, and then fall we'll have another discipline of lacrosse coming in called sixes, same as field, but it's a real interesting game. It will be at the Olympics too. So what I'd be asking for now, this could be staged up. We know that this year we're still in a growing phase, so I could put, I guess, in order of what we need first. Field, if I went back to field lacrosse, we would need nets and a field lining machine. But as right now, I'd like to focus on Newstat, if I could. So we have a couple of pressing issues. Okay, I think I know I jumped around a little bit, but that's my notes. That's my style.
Very good. Any questions? Go, Councillor Hutchison.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Adam, for the presentation. I think it's great that your group is using space in our arenas, because as we know, the more use we can get out of facilities, the better. So my first question would be, what do we need to do to make Newstead usable? As you said, it doesn't really work for the older kids in terms of games, but it can work for the younger kids, right? So we do have the pickleball there, which, as we know, and it brings in a fair income. So obviously we have to, work with them to do something. But I would say the first question is, what do we need to do at Newstead to make it ready for your use for the little people?
Okay, penalty box, timekeeper booth. It will be tricky for the glass in between the lobby and the playing surface, but that would be definitely a safety issue. I think we might be able to get away with it with the younger kids, but again, if anybody said anything, the OLA would shut us down. So we could put that in there, and lines on the playing surface. And those are the big ones to start.
You mentioned Wi-Fi, which
Yes.
you would need Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure where we want to go with that, but obviously our staff would have to be involved in terms of costing and whatnot. But and given that we've already done our budget, that might be a bit of an issue. So.
Well, approval of the budget's just coming up. Yes, that definitely will, but where we can come and what these are going to cost is come under municipal or just some of the upgrades are not as much in capital as it is in operating. How can we do that for operation? I doubt if putting the lines down would be a huge expense type of thing, or any of these, and trying to get a costing as to what the expenses are first would be our first go ahead.
Right.
The season starts
Excuse me. Yep.
about May.
As of right now, the season will start May 1st, as that's for games,
Right.
with 11 full rep teams. We're actually on the floor in Newstat right now, 2 times a week. Full Wednesday nights and Monday nights. I would say one day is a little bit less. Well attended. So we're going now. Well, we kind of have to. We actually have a gem in Newstat as opposed to anywhere else in the OLA. So we're taking advantage of it. That's why we're pretty strong as a I guess organization right now. What I forgot to mention here is the things that I was going back over to my notes here is our operating budget is $105,500. which very much surprised me. Now, we haven't even ran a single tournament. We're looking at that for next year. I mean, revenues into West Gray. I know everyone likes to throw that stuff around, but I do believe we'll be benefiting West Gray quite a bit.
You did mention one question about Wi-Fi, and I'm going to look more towards Cody on that. I thought most of our facilities we had Wi-Fi available. Cody?
Currently in the Newstead facility, there is Wi-Fi on the hall side, but there is not Wi-Fi on the arena side yet. With that being said, our local telecom provider just put fiber into that building. So we're just in the final stages of having that service turned on and connected. So it's already in the works.
Okay, stroke that off your list. That's done, all right? That was an easy fix. Yes, where do we want to go from here? Go.
Sorry, just have a couple more questions. So as far as the arena use, in Durham, the ice goes out at the end of March. Right, so you use basically the Durham Arena from April through to the fall, basically, and end of August sort of thing. Is that correct?
As soon as the ice goes out,
Yeah.
We're playing as soon as the floor is available.
Right, and then in Ayton, the ice goes out. Well, last year we extended it, right? Because we went April, May with ice in Ayton, and then
June.
it was in June too. But then we took it out for July and then we put it back in for August. Is that basically right? So like to me, when we have these facilities, I think the more we can get them used, the better. So somewhere between Durham and Ayton, I'd like to see us have year-round ice, and we're pretty close there right now when you figure how much ice time we get in there. But I can't see why we can't somehow work that so that we fit you guys in between sort of thing, in between stages. Like there must be some time maybe in Ayton that you could use more ice or more arena time there. Is that correct?
Well, if the ice is out, say June 1st, there's about a week drying time on the floor, and that will leave us basically 3 weeks. Now, one of the issues that we would run into is any house league that we would offer would run May until the end of school. Now, that is the biggest crunch time that we have in lacrosse. So really, Ayton becomes not useful to us with the amount of ice that time that's there.
So the other thing that I think we need to look at as a council municipality is that we now have 3 arenas in the mix when you include Hanover. And I know from my grandsons playing 1 week they're in 1 month they're in Durham, another month they're in Ayton, another month they're in Hanover. So it really gets split 3 ways for ice time. So maybe we need to look at working our ice time with Hanover, since we're using that quite a bit too. So I don't know. I just think there's room for flexibility there, and something we need to look at, I think.
If I was going to address that, being West Gray, you mentioned that Hanover is, but to me, it's outside of West Gray. I would like to make sure what we do as much as we can in West Gray.
Right, but our minor hockey is amalgamated with West Gray now. It's called the Saugeen
Steelheads,
right?
Yeah.
So the Hanover facility is part of the mix, the Hanover Arena. So we use it through minor hockey.
Councillor Nutt, Joyce?
Thank you. You mentioned field. Is there somewhere that you feel that maybe West Gray could accommodate you for, you're talking about outdoor.
Yeah.
Now I know Ayton's ball diamond isn't used probably near as much as maybe Newstead and Durham, so maybe that's an option. I'm not sure. I believe Durham has 3 diamonds. Is that correct? That maybe one of the diamonds could maybe be used to help facilitate that. So have you looked at any options as far as, going that option with field, the hockey as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a field director on our executive right now, and he's looked at pretty much all the options. So converting a baseball field, it would work. We would line the field and run it that way. Now, this year being more of a trial, with the expectation 2025, we will have teams going. So we could run it that way. If we had lights, I know baseball fields seem to be okay for lights, but they're actually too small. I do think behind the arena, is it Sea Diamond? Actually doesn't have the fences. So there's a possibility there that we've discussed with Randy. But there again, we're looking for all the options that we can, centrally located in Durham, or West Gray.
Go ahead, Joyce.
So again, with the growing, with this board, that maybe that's just something that you could look at for even 2025, as far as, if you need lighting or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe, is there surplus land somewhere that maybe we could accommodate that? So when you're looking at, how you could fill this option, bring something back to the municipality for budget time.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd also like to look at how the fields stand up in other regions where they do play a lot of field lacrosse, and do share with soccer. Now, my understanding is West Gray does own those fields. Soccer rents it or does it like that. In no way, shape am I looking to overstep anybody, but if there's a way to share, I would explore that too.
Good morning, Mr. Councillor Shea. Deputy Mayor, any questions from the online? No? Tom, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Just quickly, do we not have the old glass off the board still in storage over in the Newstead Arena? Thank you.
I'm looking towards staff. I think we might have some.
If I can just ask clarification on the question, Deputy Mayor, are you asking if the old glass has been installed or if we have some in stock?
I just wondering if the old glass that was originally on the arena boards, excuse me, if we still had that in storage over there, or if we reused it elsewhere.
So in accommodating lacrosse at the Newstead facility, majority of the glass has been installed on the exterior of the boards. Essentially, there is no glass on the front end by the lobby, as our delegation had stated, as well as on the side with the players bench. There may be a few additional pieces, but there's a majority of it has been reinstalled.
Okay. Historically, you were talking earlier, Adam, back in the 1870s, can we just put a bunch of wire across there like it was probably when you were playing?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you want to get back into that?
One of my earliest memories is going to the Q Box in Toronto Beaches. Very historical club. And yes, it was chain link around the top. But if we want to go that direction, I don't know what insurance would do, but wouldn't that be fun?
I may have endured that through some of my lackluster hockey career as well, too.
We used to like to try and get the ball stuck in the circles.
See how hard you could throw it and get it stuck in there.
Yeah.
Playing hockey, it was other things that we wanted to get stuck in there, not my nose, but maybe. Anyways, I digress. I think what the feeling I'm getting is, can we get together with some of the staff here and Adam or whoever throughout your organization, and certainly see what we can come up with. It's obviously a growing sport here in West Gray, and having that opportunity there and to be able to use our facilities to the maximum, to supply the recreational demands and community demands, what we would need to do to be able to make that work to the best advantage of all of us. So I'm going to suggest looking at Cody, probably to start with, getting together with the organization and trying to figure out how we can maximize the floor time availability for this growing opportunity in West Gray. So thank you very much for the presentation this morning, Adam, and all the success going forward. And maybe what we could do, seeing as it is in Newstead, and this is probably more to Councillor Forrester, who is there every Friday night. Have you ever considered playing lacrosse on roller skates?
I think it's rough enough.
Yeah, don't want to increase that speed. Okay, yeah. Certainly, it's a good thing, a good problem to have, that we're looking to be able to use that and not shutting down those facilities as in some other municipalities where we don't have the participation. So thank you again for bringing lacrosse back to the forefront in the area, and we'll work with you on making the success going forward. I just want to give direction through a motion. Do you have something written there? Okay, my clerk is saying to follow procedure and whatnot, need a motion to look forward to expanding these ideas. What have you got for us, Jamie?
Through Mayor Eccles, I have that in consideration of a delegation provided January 16, 2024 by Adam Kroll, President of West Gray Minor Lacrosse, respecting lacrosse in West Gray. Council directs staff to work with West Gray Minor Lacrosse to investigate options for upgrading the Newstead Arena to ensure it meets the arena standards to play lacrosse as set by the Ontario Lacrosse Association.
And could we also put in there and further to investigate options for field lacrosse participation? How are you going to work that?
Could I, one thing that we do have for field lacrosse that's pushing right now, if we could find a location. Currently, we're looking at places outside of West Gray. I'm trying not to do that as much as I can, but we can't seem to find too many options. Schools are an option. It's, again, tricky with their insurance and how they want to do it. But I think going forward, we are going to need nets for that. They're $750 a piece. And Randy Murray had mentioned that he does have a field lining machine that we could use for now. If we wanted to put any expenses in there, that would be one of them, a definite one. Hey, got to try.
Excuse me, this is my motion, not yours.
You know me, I'm going to get my nose in there no matter what.
Through Mayor Eccles, I have changed it slightly to remove specifically Newstead. So it's now that council directs staff to work with West Gray Minor Lacrosse to investigate options for expanding the West Gray Minor Lacrosse program in West Gray, just to be a little more generic. Doesn't specifically mention indoor or outdoor facilities, but provides some latitude and options to explore.
Okay, do I have a mover for that? I'll take Deputy Mayor Hutchison and Councillor Townsend. Okay, any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried unanimously. All right, I look forward to the interaction and great opportunity. Thank you very much.
Likewise, and I appreciate all the help since 2018. I think I sat here and asked, so I appreciate everything that council's done. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Okay. I'm going to take a 5-minute break and refill the coffee cups, become alert for the next presentation from our Director of Finance. All right, we'll take 5 minutes and be back 5 after 10. That should be good. He's coming in. Yeah. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. And we will go into public meeting on budget. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah. So I need, under the Municipal Act, we have to, municipalities have to host a public meeting on presentation of the budget. So that is what we're doing this morning here. And I need a mover and a seconder that the Westgrave the council recesses at 10:10 a.m. for the purpose of proceeding into a public meeting on the proposed 2024 budget. Move by Scott. And a seconder. Councillor Noon. Thank you, Joyce. Any questions or comments? Hold the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, thank you. So we are now declare the public meeting open and ask if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest from any of the members. Seeing none, it can be declared if it does occur. I'd like to remind everyone that the purpose of this public meeting is to receive input from the public on the 2024 Westgrave budget. That's just for there. And ask Ashley or Cody, is there anybody online with us at this point in time? Okay, yep. And that's okay, just for that clarification. Public meeting, and I have a comment, the clerk has some delegated or authority, or I'm not sure just what the right words are for that. Yeah. Processes to proceed with.
Thank you,
Clerk Beckensweiler.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Notice of this public meeting was posted on Westgrave's website and in the Hanover Post on December 21st, 2023. There have been no public comments received to date. Anyone wishing to provide verbal comments at this public meeting is asked to sign the sign-in sheet located on the speaker's table. The personal information collected at this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Municipal Act. The information collected will be used to complete the budget process and will form part of the public record. Questions about this collection should be addressed to me, the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk.
Thank you very much, James. We'll proceed with Carrie and on the presentation from the Director of Finance. Please go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, let's get the slide. All righty, so we can go to the next slide. This is the budget presentation. Our 2024 Westgrave tax increase proposed is 9.7%, or just over $1.274 million. Represents an estimated local tax levy increase of about $71.85 per 100,000 of assessment for a residential home. Due to the continued postponement of the province-wide reassessment, there is no change for reassessment built into these estimates, and those values, the assessment values, remain on the January 1st, 2016 current value. The operating expenditures are just over $18 million, and capital is just over $11.3 million, for a total of $29.3 million. Next slide. And where do we get our funding? 49% or $14.3 million comes from our tax levy. We're having a borrowing of just over $5.9 million. User fees and other charges are $4 million. Grants represent approximately $3.5 million. We're transferring from reserve $797,000. Interest revenue $348,000, and revenue from other municipalities at about $206,000, for a total of $29.3. Next slide. On the tax levy increase of the 9.7, The operating side represents about $653,000 or 5% of the increase, and the capital levy increases at $620,000 or about 4.7% for a total tax levy increase over 2023 of $1.274 million. Next slide. We're spending our funds, our total budget, corporate $7.7 million. Transportation is just over $7 million. Police $4.5 million. Recreation at 1.7. Water at $5 million. And it's worth noting that the water and sewer is not funded from the tax levy, and it's 100% user fee. So just to make that clear, fire is 1.3 million, waste management is 1.1 million, and libraries at 573,000 for a total of $29.3 million budget. And our tax levy, next slide. A tax levy support by department. Transportation is about 35% or $5 million. Police is 3.9 million for about $27 million, 27%, sorry. Corporate is 2.3 million, fire 1.15, recreation is just over $1 million, library 517,000, and waste management is about 234,000, which represents our total tax levy of $14.3 million. Next slide. Some of the projects that we're completing in our budget. The new police station will be tendered and construction will begin. The engineering and construction will continue on Rock Street, South Street, and Kincardine Street in conjunction with the new Rockwood Terrace development in Durham. We're budgeting for a new grader for the Glenelg Depot. The Newstead Water Tower refurbishment will be completed. The Newstead Arena ball diamond light fixtures will be replaced. Ayton Library branch will get accessible doors and a ramp. And there'll be new cameras for the council chambers webcasting. And that is the end of the budget presentation. If there's any questions.
Members of the public wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting may do so one of two ways. The first being if you've joined us on Zoom via phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and that will let us know you'd like to speak. Alternatively, you can press *9 again to lower your hand. For members who have joined us virtually via Zoom, you can either send a chat message to myself, Cody Hewlett, stating that you would like to speak or what you would like read into the record on your behalf, or you can raise your hand, which is typically located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen under the More Reactions icon. Through you, I am seeing one member of the public via phone who would like to speak.
Okay, let them in and make a comment.
The member online with the phone number last 3 digits, 321, you may unmute your mic and speak now.
Hello, it is Marianne Ratcliffe for the record, and Happy New Year, everyone. My budget concern relates to the removal of the replacement of Bridge 44. I just want to double check, it has been removed from the budget? Yes, no? Hello?
Yes, no, staff is just looking that up at this point, Marion. You can just give us a second.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure if I was, you know how technology is.
Yes. I don't know how it is in positive words, but I know some of the negative words about technology. Carrie? Director Mike has an answer. Go ahead, Carrie.
Yes, Bridge 44, we are transferring money to reserve to hopefully fund the project to be completed in 2025.
Okay, yeah, it's just, it's not the first time it's been postponed, and I went for a walk on it the other day and saw another piece of concrete lying on on the roadside beside it. And there are people just on the other side. So I was just concerned for their safety, if that bridge has to be closed, that's a problem with access for emergency vehicles. And it's an inconvenience, and it's, carbon footprint as well if they have to drive all the way to the town line to get around. So I'm just glad to hear that you are putting money into that. And I guess the other kind of grievance was that money being put for the splash pad and a new splash pad in Durham when the bridges aren't being taken care of. But that's my only comment. But I'm just glad to hear, yes, you are putting reserves. And please don't postpone it again. It's in very bad shape. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment. And yeah, just to clarify, so there is money in it, but be hopefully tendering it out in 2025 for the work. That's the way this one is going to work. But as you said, 2025 is another budget year.
Yeah, is there anything in the plan, like if on the next, I'm going to guess it will be examined again this year, and if they decide to close it, would there be any way to do the bridge this year if it does turn out to be a problem?
I'm going to say, put it this way, probably not. And it wouldn't be from a West Grey perspective, as it would be, that probably would happen sometime later into the year. And at that point in time, I would be very doubtful that we would be able to find a contractor to do any work on the project in 2024. So it would probably be more onto that, and then it would be an absolute priority in 2025 to have that project in play.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Marion, for participating. Anyone else? Cody, online? That's all we have online. Any comments from council members? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yes, question for our director regarding the 9.7%. That's a blended rate. The county, I thought, came in a little bit lower than what we originally projected. Is that taken into consideration? No, that's not the county. Including, no.
The 9.7 is not a blended rate. That is your tax levy increase for 2024.
Oh, so potentially with the blended rate, that amount could come down somewhat based on the county's projections, sort of thing. Right. My other comment is, it is concerning that we're approaching the double-digit figure, but when you look around and hear in the news, there's a lot of areas close to us, and some even big cities who have a huge tax base compared to we do, are still looking at almost a double-digit increase, which seems to be a sign of the times when there really isn't enough money in the coffers to do all the projects that we need to do. And as Mary mentioned, the bridge is an example where we push things off because we don't have the money. But it's tough times, and it's tough out there for a lot of people, and realize that it's a big increase, but we have to move forward. We have to do things. So it is what it is, I guess. So hopefully people will manage. Thank you.
Councillor Noon, Joyce.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Carrie. Just for clarification, I know you outlined where the funds are being spent, and the water sewer is just over 5 mil, and 100% user fee that's administered for it. Is that in any way offset when we're looking at the revenue portion then? Would, under other municipal generated funds coming in, would that be any user fee payments for the water sewer, or is it not reflecting in that summary?
The other municipal wouldn't be the water and sewer. The water and sewer rates, the 5 million, it would be a combination of some borrowing for some of the capital projects for the water and sewer, but the water and sewer rates fund 100% of the expenses. If there's other municipalities like the county that have a water bill, it's just a water bill payment. It's not like a neighboring municipality contributing to the fire levy for their share. That would be other municipal revenue, but just payment of a water bill for a county building would not be other municipal revenue.
Okay, I guess just for clarification, I know you need that bottom line, the 29,000 to reflect where the funds are all, but yet I guess where I'm a little confused, why we even have to reflect that water sewer cost when it is 100% user fee. I just don't know how that's built in to that number when it's just paid by the users on those municipal systems.
We still need the authorization to spend any of the dollars within that budget. Recreation has user fees. We still authorize that budget. So council has to authorize the expenditures. It's just how it's funded is not from the tax levy. It's just from other sources. But we still need the authorization from council. And ultimately, it is council's responsibility to run that water and sewer system.
Questions? Councillor Townsend. Doug.
Yeah, just a question for our Director of Finance, and I'm not sure if she can answer this or not. Can you tell us how, with this tax increase, how we stack up in West Grey against other municipalities within Grey County as per assessment per $100,000? Are we, in the low end scale, the high end scale? I think it would maybe help the residents of West Grey. Yes, our taxes went up, but you know what? Compared to an Owen Sound or a Chatsworth or whatever per $100,000 of assessment, where we stand.
I don't have those numbers for today. Not all municipalities have their 2024 budget passed at this point. We could look at 2023 as an example, but I don't have those figures available. We'd have to look at what their average assessment is and what their tax rates were for 2023. But we can provide a further report if that's something you wish.
Okay, Councillor Shay. Jeff, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, sorry I'm late. No. Carrie, there's an annual report that's published, and I've forgotten the name of it. It's BMR? Yeah. So it's a comparison of the majority of municipalities in Ontario, and it compares all sorts of things. It's a very, very thick document, like 600 pages or something, and it compares size, average income of residents, tax rates, school taxes, policing costs, a huge amount of comparisons. And I just wanted to mention this for some of the newer councillors, that this is a document that I've referred to frequently. You can find it online if you can figure out what it's called. You can just Google it and find last year's, and then you can see how we stack up compared to the majority of municipalities in Ontario. And I've looked at it for lots of things, and I have noted that we are very, very low on the average, historically, very, very low on the average tax rate. We're one of the lowest taxed municipalities, as are many of our neighbors. This is a sort of a lowish area. But I did want to go back to Joyce's question about water and sewer, which comes in at around 5 million. And then looking at the revenue side, I see 4 million from user fees and 6 million for borrowing. So are you saying that the water and sewer would come out of those two numbers?
Yes, there'd be in the user fees, there'd be water fees as well as any other recreation or landfill fees, any other user charges are in there. And then primarily on the capital side, there is some borrowing that we're doing. There's a little bit of grant revenue on their capital as well. So it would be a combination of some borrowing, grants, and user fees. that would be shared in that, funding that 5 million.
Okay, thank you. And finally, I like the last slide where you highlight some of the major achievements that we're accomplishing this year, including getting a new video camera in the council chambers. I hope that comes in under $1 million. And at the other end of the spectrum, the new police station tendering, which we're all very much looking forward to. But I just wanted to clarify, in the tax levy support by department or where we're spending the funds, that doesn't come under the category of police, does it? The police spending on the police station.
No, the construction of the police station is not under the police services budget. That is under the municipal corporate levy corporate portion of the budget.
Okay. That's it for questions. And with no more online. Very good. All right. I get to declare the public meeting closed. All right, thank everybody. Before I say that, I just want to thank council and staff on getting us to this point. In comparison, I'd like to say that we've done very good work on getting this budget work done, and for 2024, before 24 is half over. I think the municipal act says that we shall have the budget passed by April, May?
The county, the upper tier has to have it by the end of April, but we don't have that same restriction. But yes, it is.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a number of other municipalities out there that are struggling very much, as you had mentioned, Councillor Hutchison and Townsend. And just like to say, staff, thank you for getting us to this point where we can go on and start doing the work of 2024 and get it done in a timely fashion for the residents of West Grey. Very good. With that, public meeting is closed. Very good. All right. That puts us on to comment period. Sorry, do I have to go back? Do we have to have a motion to go back into public meetings closed? We're back into the council meeting now, and brings us down to comment period. With our procedural bylaw, is there anyone online that has a comment or wishes to make a comment this morning on anything on the agenda? Cody?
Members of the public wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting can do so as stated in the public meeting. You can either press *9 to raise your hand if you've joined us on the phone line. Otherwise, if you are virtually on Zoom, you can send a chat message to myself or raise your hand, which is in the bottom corner of your screen. We do have one person who would like to speak.
We do have a comment. Okay. That's one thing with video. I don't see you up there, but Cody suggests that somebody online has a comment. Please, you want to go ahead?
Hello, it's Marianne Ratcliffe again. I just wanted to comment on the presentation by Tom Allwood. That was 4.2 on the agenda. I thought it was a very good presentation, and it does raise a lot of concerns that I do hope council will consider with regard to that power storage system. And I was wondering, I would think I was there for that council session where the presentation was made by the proponent and you gave your approval. I'm hoping that that wasn't the official approval, or if it was, that it could be rescinded if we do get more information, especially about the environmental sensitivity of that area, as well as the fire concerns. That's all I really have to say about that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Marion. Anything else there, Cody? Anyone else in the chamber? Seeing as the public portion is negligible this morning. Okay, we'll move on. Unfinished business. Not aware of any. Jamie? Brings us down to number 8, adoption of minutes. And there's 2 sets there. The first one being special council budget meeting on December 12th. We do both of these or one each. So I'll need somebody to move and second those budget meeting minutes from December the 12th. Councillor Townsend and Councillor Forrester. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? Errors or omissions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. 8.2, minutes of the regular meeting from December the 19th. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Councillor Shea. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Committee and board reports. We have a number here. These ones we can receive. So we have 9.1 Saugeen Mobility Transit from October 20th, 9.2 Saugeen Municipal Airport, December 20th, Westgrave Police Services Board, November the 13th, Westgrave Public Library, October the 11th, and Westgrave Public Library, November the 8th. Can I have a motion to receive those minutes as presented? Councillor Hutchison and Councillor Noon. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Correspondence. We have a number in the package. And we can receive those. Oh, I was going to receive them first and then talk about the one from direction, but I will follow direction. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The first one is there's correspondence that needs to be addressed by council from Barb and Paul Forrester. Request for reimbursement for the plumbing bill at the Eaton. I guess the water comes from the Eaton Fire, the well at the Eaton Fire Hall. How does council want to address that? Or does somebody want to comment on it? Councillor Hutchison.
Well, I'm curious if someone could maybe explain the situation. So I'm curious why we would pay for a water break for something that happened inside a building when normally we provide service to the property line, and then the rest is the property owner. So I'm curious about the situation, that why we're expected to pay that, or going to be asked to pay that.
Joyce, do you want to comment on that one?
Thank you. That bill is just to provide the water directly from, it would be coming from Hewley's property now around Paul Forster's 2 houses. Barb reached out to me and asked if, there could be some compensation. But she said since amalgamation, or even prior, every time they have an internal problem and they have to turn the water off, then it affects Powis' water. They don't have water as well. So Barb and Paul took it upon themselves to get the plumber to bypass their house for this main reason. But unfortunately, she didn't reach out to the municipality before they got this direction or this done. So now, unfortunately, from years prior, when she initially asked the plumber, he said, oh, it wouldn't cost that much money, to not getting a quote prior to having it done. And then it was substantial. So Barb's now looking if the municipality could some way help compensate this, because it's still on that shared well from the municipality. But asking forgiveness and asking for compensation, whether we pay it directly, or she's asking if we pay it directly, or they pay $500 a year, an annual fee, if compensation to be taken and they don't have to pay that fee.
Good, Doug?
I'm still confused, but are we talking Ayton or Newstead? It must be Ayton, right? Okay, because Newstead's on public water. Okay, so they're sharing a well. Yeah, okay. Right, okay. So I'm still questioning why it's our cost versus their cost. Like, what is the line? I still don't quite understand. Maybe someone can clarify a bit better. I'm not sure.
Staff, please.
It is a municipal shared well. We bill out $500 to 3 different property owners that are connected to our well at the fire hall.
Okay. So there is a request, as Joyce said. Go ahead, Joyce.
Just for clarification to Councillor Hutchinson, the internal problem, the plumbing, that was a totally separate bill. That has nothing to do with this extra amount that they've charged to bypass the water.
Councillor Shay, Jeff?
So we have a shared well situation where we provide service to 3 other nearby properties, 2 of whom are attached via one common shutoff. So it's not possible to shut off the water to one without shutting it off to both. It sounds like it was not well thought out when this system was put in place. I would have thought you'd create a separate shutoff for each. You're sending each a separate bill. So it does seem like there was perhaps some sloppiness when this was originally constructed. So based on that, I would think that maybe we would take on some of the liability for the cost of rectifying this situation. I don't know, given that there was no quote, there was no asking in advance. What is the bill, $700? Maybe we could offer to pay half of it just as a gesture of goodwill. I would make that as a motion just to get the subject on the table.
Okay. So Councillor Shay has made a motion that the expense be 50% of what the expense was that we reimburse. Do I have a seconder for that motion? This isn't an auction. I'm just going to go once, twice. Okay, on number 2, Councillor Hutchison. Any comments?
Yes, so my question maybe rather than paying 50% of the bill, maybe we do as they've asked, and which is option to give us free water for a while. I don't know what their water bill is, but maybe instead of giving them money, we can give them a cut on their water bill for a couple of months or whatever. I'm not sure. Maybe Terry can explain that.
It's probably cleaner if you are going to do anything to just issue the check to them rather than trying to offset. We bill them annually $500 to each of the property owners. That fee has been the same for a long time, so it is something that we may need to examine whether we need to increase the rate, but it would be cleaner if you're just going to deal with, if you're going to refund them an amount, then provide that payment rather than trying to offset against the current bill.
Okay, anything else? Counselor Townsend. Doug?
Just, I like where Councillor Shea's going with this, but I don't feel it's enough. I think we should be paying their full bill. And it's unfortunately a hindsight or an error that was probably done back in the Normanby days. And it's just something that's come up that we need to clean up. And although I won't be in favor of your motion, Councillor Shea, but I think we should be paying the full compensation. And as the Director of Finance said too, it's cleaner if we pay the full thing than trying to award them, you know, a year and a half of free water or whatever it would work out to. So I think we should just do the right thing and clean it up and pay the bill. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. That's my question. There's 3 houses from what I'm reading here in this letter, and I was a little confused on it too, but so is there 2 more houses that potentially could run into the same situation? I guess is my question. And if so, do we deal with that now and then eliminate any further problems down the road?
Manager of Infrastructure, Mr. Aiken, do you have any comment on that?
Good morning. It's now my understanding with this plumbing modification, not a distribution, but plumbing modification, that should no longer be an issue.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Noon.
The unfortunate part though, if Hookies have a problem and had to turn the water off, then Forsters won't get water. Because it's one house to the next. So if Hookies have to turn them off, then Forsters and Houses wouldn't get water. So if now Forsters corrected Houses problem, like from turn off, because they deviated the water for it, but they haven't done it from Hookie's place.
Okay. My understanding is it is a shared well. If I think kind of the complication to this is it's coming out of a municipal thing, so everybody thinks it's the municipality that should cover it. But there's a number of these, certainly in Elmwood, Eaton. I'm not sure whether Varney has any or not. Priceville might have a couple as well too in our boundaries. But it comes down to it's a shared system that, so you only have one well instead of everybody putting a pipe into the ground. I'm leaning towards Mr. Shea and saying, yeah, you know, it's kind of a shared system and we should all share a little bit here and there to make it happen. So, you know, whether it's Forsters or Pulfus or who, should be a bit of a sharing, and maybe, yeah, where the well is associated, there's a bit of a percentage there. So my thoughts are that I'd be supporting the motion as it is on the floor. But any other comments? Councillor Townsend.
Having lived on a shared well in Ayton for a time, which was shared with a neighbor, and we shared the expenses, and I totally understand that. But in this case, we're actually charging for the water. So to me, that makes us, I know on the shared well I was on, there was never any charge. No money changed hands between property owners that were on it, other than we shared the expenses, which I understand, but there was no usage fee. And in this case, I believe we're charging a usage fee, so therefore, does that not make us in charge of the system? I don't know, I'm
going to say that no, we're not charging a user fee. Carrie's going to explain what the charge is for.
We offset the fee for the costs of like the UV filters and the cost of the system. If the expenses, if the pump needs repaired, we're going to put it towards the cost of the pump, that type of thing, but it's not an actual usage charge. There's no consumption. There's no, it's just sharing in the cost of the expenses for the well, like the UV filters and water testing that we have to do for the year.
And to maybe offset some of the electricity of pumping the water. Yeah. Okay. Maybe when you were on that shared well, electricity was a lot cheaper at that point in time, Doug. Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. All right. The rest of the correspondence is there. Any comments? Most of these we have already addressed. But if there's a question on any of them, or we want to pull one, but question first, Councillor Hutchison. Tom, or
I'd like to pull number 1 and support it, asking for support regarding cemetery costs, asking the ministry to the government of Ontario to help with abandoned cemeteries. Reached out to a couple of people I know that were on cemetery boards that I've been involved in, and it is becoming a growing concern. So I wouldn't mind pulling that and supporting it.
so you want to put forward a motion to deal with that one then?
Yes.
No. Clerk, Jimmy?
Through your miracles, I have that in consideration of correspondence received from Clearview Township and Tate Township respecting cemetery transfer, abandonment, administration, and management support. Council directs staff to send a letter of support for the request to the Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery, Jim Casamatis, BAO interim CEO / registrar, and Bruce Gray, Owen Sound, MPP Rick Byers.
Move that?
Yes.
Yep. And Councillor Forrester will second that. Any further questions or comments on this? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. That leaves the other 8. Councillor Forrester.
I'd like to support 10.2.8. Through miracles, Councillor Forrester, are you referring to item 8 in the info pack? Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one dealing with prohibition of criminals from municipal council?
Correct.
Okay. And what do you got on that one, Jimmy?
Through your miracles, I have that in consideration of correspondence received from the Township of Conwy respecting the prohibition of criminals from municipal council. Council directs staff to send a letter of support to the Premier of Ontario, Attorney General Doug Downey, Solicitor General Michael Kersner, Minister of Municipal Affairs Paul Calandra, MPP Rick Byers, Leader of the Official Opposition Merritt Stiles, MPP and critic of the Attorney General Kristen Wong Tam, MPP and critic of the Solicitor General John Van Thoff, MPP and critic of the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Jeff Birch, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Rural Ontario Municipal Association.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that one? Councillor Noon. Okay. Any comments or questions on the motion? Just to be clear, when I'm reading through this, it's for criminal offenses. Criminal code? Is that the way I'm reading that? What Tommy is talking about? If I could, just for clarification, ask, I see the police chief here. Criminal code, there's a number of things that are in that. An example of a criminal code offense, murder, right down to impaired driving.
For criminal code offenses, it would go from homicide being the worst, and you can go straight down to shoplifting, mischief, the lower tier secondary offenses that are listed into the criminal code. Also, you'd be looking at criminal convictions, even though it's not the same statute, you'd be looking at convictions under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. Any federal statute could be considered to be a criminal code offense or a criminal offense, depending on the wording of the act itself. But to answer your question before we drift off, it would be any offense from homicide down, including shoplifting, impaired driving, dangerous operation of a motor vehicle. Pretty much every offense that would be in the criminal code would be exclude someone from sitting on a municipal council according to this letter.
Okay. Thank you for that, Chief, for the clarification of where that ends up. Go ahead, further.
Just for council's awareness, criminality and criminal records are also listed in the human rights legislation of this province and the country as well, that people can't be discriminated against simply because they have a criminal record any longer. Just so you have some background on the Ontario Human Rights Code and the Canadian Human Rights Code as well.
Okay. Any? A second for that. Okay. Any further comments or questions on the motion? Seeing none, then I would call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is defeated. Okay. Thanks, Chief. Anything else? Councillor Hutchison.
I had a question with and a comment with number 2 regarding the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority's directive from the ministry regarding not able to change fees in year 2024. And I thought it was sort of unusual this would come down at this time of year after they already done their budget and we've passed our budget. Is that going to affect us anyway? Because they're now saying, even though they built fee increases, according to what they said, into their budget, and then now the minister's saying, no, you can't increase your fees, which wasn't very nice, given that they didn't give much of a heads up. So I'm just wondering how that may affect us.
Somebody that sits on the Conservation Authority want to answer that? Or? Oh, a little choked up. I will, in 2023, the ministry at about December the 28th in 2022, late in December, made the same recommendation, or not recommendation, directive. It might have been mentioned at the conservation budget that would that happen again? And staff were under the understanding that absolutely not in 2023, that for 2024 it wouldn't happen, that they'd be frozen. So apparently on the 16th or 17th, whatever it was, of December, when it was passed, a few days later, the ministry come down and said, no, your fees are going to be. Conservation annual general meeting is on Friday in Formosa. And part of that meeting will be, of course, the election of officers and everything. And then we'll go into a meeting portion of it, which will be a proposed updated budget. We've let it be known that, yeah, West Grey, we passed our budget. I believe Hanover has passed their budget. There are a number of municipalities that have not. I'm not certain what that overall means. Just haven't seen a meeting of where the adaptation that the conservation is going to make to their budget with this in mind, because there was somewhere around 450,000 of new revenue projected because of increased fees for permits and fees at the parks and whatnot. How that is going to be addressed, but I haven't been able to see that through a detailed lens from the package that was made available to us. But the reduction, there has been a reduction of about 200,000 in the budget expenses, bringing it down to 5.7 million. Where the other 200 and some odd thousand is coming from, whether it's being proposed that it be back onto the municipalities, but we've already done ours, so I'm not certain. A couple of other municipalities have said, no, we're already set. You're Johnny come lately, not going to happen. So it'll be an interesting meeting on Friday.
So yeah, so maybe that's a good thing that we passed our budget, but I do see that maybe we're going to end up with cut in services if that's what it comes down to somewhere along the line. So, which is unfortunate, but it's nice to see that we passed our budget. Some years it was like March, April, it seemed like, before we ever got things finished up, but so we did well this year.
It may mean that conservation has to get out of some things that they're not mandated to be doing, and they'll get back to doing what they are mandated to do and not optional projects. Okay. I don't think we need to pull that. It's just a question, clarification. The other, that leaves us with 7 correspondence. I have a motion to receive those. Councillor Townsend, Councillor Shea, thank you. Any questions on that motion? Call the question. All those in favor receiving the correspondence? That, any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Staff reports. I guess that brings us down to number 11. And meaning that first staff report is Manager of Public Works. Good morning, Mr. Aiken. Thank you for coming in. And the first report there is 11.1.1. Boundary road agreement with Southgate. Any comments or anything else on that agreement?
Generally speaking, my counterpart at Southgate and I reviewed it. We're quite happy with the way it's functioning both in winter and summer. Staff were actually in the fields taking care of it, had no concerns, and essentially the only thing really truly in front of me was to update the terminated agreement.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with it, but I do notice that it looks like we didn't have an agreement last year, according to this. It terminated in 2022. So this will be for 2024 going forward. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Just in reading through it, and as you said, when I read through the agreement, so I don't see anything where it does talk about summer programs. It talks all about winter programs from November 1st to April. We'll plow snow and remove snow. But I don't see anything from April 1st to October 31st. Is never mentioned in the agreement. I know it's worked well, but just curiosity more than anything.
You're correct, it was heavily weighted towards spelling out winter control, but there is a reference to the minimum maintenance standard. With the exception of Cyber 50, whoever is doing, whichever municipality is doing the winter maintenance would do shouldering, cold patching, maintenance gravel, calcium, etc. Cyber 50 would be less correct.
Okay. All right. Anything else? We do have a motion on that. Jamie, recommendation is there. We have somebody that wants to move that. Moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Noon. We're into a boundary road agreement with the Township of Southgate. Okay, any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Director of Finance, Treasurer. You're proposing a interim tax levy bylaw and a 2024 borrowing bylaw? I hope you've budgeted correctly and you won't need to borrow anything.
Yeah. The tax levy bylaw, as was presented, the borrowing bylaw is just basically our annual overdraft for operations. It does not represent long-term borrowing for the capital projects within the budget, but this is just the operating line of credit basically with the bank. Currently, we have not had to draw down on it at all, but it does give us that ability should the cash flow dictate that we need to dip into it.
Councillor Noon.
Well, thank you, Kerry. Just for clarification though, would there not be any borrowing for the police station in this current year, or how does that work?
That will be, we will do construction financing, so that will be a separate, until the project's complete and the final amount is known for the long-term borrowing, we will do a separate, or anticipate doing a separate borrowing arrangement for construction financings outside of this. One, because this is truly operational, but also it's not at the level that we will require as the project were to advance.
Okay. We have anybody to move the recommendation there? To move those? Councillor Hutchison and Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Okay, any further questions? We've certainly done a lot of work to get to this point. No questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. 11.3, 11.3.1, electronic data collection. Mr. Clerk. Jamie, what do you got on this one?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. The provincial government enacted Bill 88, the Working for Workers Act 2022, requiring the creation of a written policy regarding electronic monitoring of employees. This policy provides information on how employees may be electronically monitored and how that information may be used. The adoption of this policy is required by law, so this policy just makes good on that requirement.
Any questions, comments? Councillor Noon.
Thank you. So I'm gathering that this is a new bylaw, like that we're not amending or, yeah, like that it hasn't been done in the previous councils. It's new just to keep up with the sign of the times with electronic.
Through your Mayor Eccles to Councilor Noon, yes, that is correct. This is a new policy that West Gray would be enacting.
And to keep us compliant with Big Brother at Queen's Park. Okay. Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Moved by Councilor Noon, seconded by Councilor Forrester. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Councilor Shea. Jeff?
To the CAO, we have an employee consultation group. I forget what it's called. Have they expressed any, or do they know about this, or have they expressed any opinion?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Shea, you're right, it's the Employee Consultation Committee. This is a mandatory policy, so we haven't had their input yet, but I believe on passing of this, we do have to have everyone sign off on it. So if there's any concerns, we can address it at that point.
Very good. Anything else? Jamie.
Just further to that as well. So this policy was crafted based on several other policies that other municipalities have already enacted. So Middlesex Center, City of Toronto, some larger urban centers as well. So this was crafted largely based on what those policies had already indicated.
So it was done with a lot of R&D, is what you're saying. Robbed and duplicated. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Thanks, Jamie. Next one. You have delegated authority bylaw. Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. West Gray's current delegated authority bylaw is rather dated, with some delegations not being captured in it. The efficient management of the municipality and the need to respond to issues in a timely manner requires the delegation of certain powers and authority. The revised delegated authority bylaw will contribute to more effective and efficient processing of routine matters and will allow council to focus more on its strategic role. The Municipal Act 2001 requires municipalities to adopt and maintain policies respecting the delegation of their powers and duties. And this revised bylaw does exactly that. It incorporates additional, more routine matters into a delegated authority bylaw, as I said, to allow council to focus more on strategic roles rather than the day-to-day operations of the municipality. So certainly this revised bylaw should improve processes and create some efficiencies for both the public and council in speeding up the activities that we do in West Gray.
Sorry. Tom, I didn't have my microphone on. All of those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. And the last one, CO 11.4 is the CO report. And something comes forward. Comments on this, Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to council. I believe the report is relatively straightforward. It's been a few years since we've been able to complete performance reviews due primarily to the pandemic and operating under different parameters. This report is requesting that we get back on track, and there's a couple of templates that have been used in other municipalities that are attached to the report. We could use one of those, we could modify. It's really just opening up the dialogue to do this review and goal setting exercise.
Okay. Notice there's a couple of blanks in there. Does council questions on this? I'll go forward with it, or out of the what is it, 3? 2, sorry. 2 options. Which one would we like to implement? Councillor Hutchison.
I sort of like the CAMA report, just because the CAO does most of the work, but it comes from our CAO's perspective. I think in the previous one, it talks about, you know, how do we see our CAA working with the staff and so on, which I think really is hard for us to judge because we're not in the inside dealing with staff and communication and whatnot. So I think it's better coming from the CAA perspective when it talks about, you know, what are the goals for her and the municipality, and then we get a chance to, you know, comment on those. Like, so for example, I'm looking on page 162, talks about leadership and relationship, talks about leadership, and then the CEO comments, and then we get to make comments based on her comments. So I just find that this one's coming from the right direction, I think, rather than coming, so we get to comment after the CEO has done sort of a self-evaluation, I think, to a certain extent. So that's my comments on that.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Tom?
Thank you. I'll try to go as quickly as I can. I do like template number 2, the CAMA. I think that's I think it's more in line with our familiarity up at the county there. And again, I'm speaking Mayor Eccles myself, so I would prepare to put a motion forward that we would go to use template number 2.
Okay. So your would like to move in the report, choose template number 2 or CAMA. Do we have a seconder for that on the floor? Councillor Hutchison. Excuse me. Any further questions or comments on this? I'm going to call the question that for the CEO's performance review and whatnot, we use CAMA and start moving forward with that. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Very good. That's it for staff reports. Nothing come in late? No. Everything's always on time when you're at the meeting in order. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Questions? Anybody have any questions? Council members? Deputy Mayor? No questions today. That's very good. Bylaws. We have, I'll introduce for 2024 and going forward, Jamie has proposed that instead of doing bylaws as individuals, thank you, that we can go through this more or less in the way we do it in correspondence. We can move all the bylaws completely in regard to regulations and whatnot, just to speed things up. And we're proposing to try that today as just a little bit different on the agenda. In the same thing as with correspondence, if there's a bylaw that you want pulled and to be addressed individually, we can do that first. But we're going to give it a try today that bylaw numbers 2024-001 to bylaw 2024-008 be passed and enacted. I have a mover for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor. Seconder. Councillor Shea. So that's for the 8 bylaws that are there. Any questions on the motion? Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Well, I have a question on a specific bylaw, so is this the time for that, or?
If it's just a clarification.
Yes, go ahead. So at bylaw 2024-002, which has to do with expenditures and revenues, just wonder if our Director of Finance could explain. It talks about previous years expenditures and whatnot. So the last page under total capital expenditures, I'm curious why we budgeted 14 million, but we only spent 5.6 million according to that sheet. I'm missing something there.
Carrie?
Oh, sorry, hang on.
Are you looking at the Schedule A? Is that what you're looking at, Doug? On the actual year to date? Yep. So the actual numbers for the prior year are not complete, but the budget did include construction of the police station, which obviously didn't get started. That was a large part. But yeah, the actual prior year, the actual column is still in motion because there's expenses still coming in from 2023.
Okay, no other, oh, sorry, Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. Just a quick, or I guess a question then too about 24004, the bag tags, the garbage bag tags. Will we still be able to look at down the road here, the remuneration that the sellers get on those bag tags? Will we be able to address that later this in this year before that becomes available?
Jamie?
Through your miracles to Councillor Townsend, anything is possible. This bylaw the new fee for this, for garbage bag tags will take effect on September 1st. I would suggest that if council does want to review the compensation to vendors for supplying bag tags, that could be done through notice of motion. We could investigate that through that mechanism.
Yep, all right. Okay, no other questions? Call the question on the bylaws. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Any new business? Announcements. Anybody have any announcements that they would like to put forward? No news. Everybody had a great new year. Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, just to put it out there that the Fresno Fest activity, which is spearheaded by the South Gray Chamber of Commerce, is well underway, and so you start to see some advertising information on that. Our local service clubs are involved right across West Gray, so it's not totally in Durham as it maybe has been in the past, with a few skating opportunities in Ayton and Newstead. So there's lots of activities being planned for the Family Day weekend. So keep that in mind. There'll be check Facebook, and there'll be a website coming out soon. So thank you to the Chamber for their leadership on that, and also for staff, Cody and Nicole, for their help on that event. Thank you.
Okay, any other announcements? Councillor Noon, Joyce?
In addition to Councillor Hutchinson, the Friends of Ayton are going to be hosting a volleyball tournament on the Saturday of that Family Day weekend. And we're asking for 12 teams, and they've already got 12 teams registered. So good support from the community. Thank you.
So are they looking for more space? You're going to move over to Newstead as well too, like they do with the ball team? Look forward. Now that we've got the snow, you can play snow volleyball. Anything else? You will see in front a lot of advertising going out, and similar to Councillor Hutchison, with the South Grey Chamber of Commerce. In each municipality, I think we've been to Grey Highlands, been to Southgate, that they have the mayor's breakfast to showcase the municipality, and they just call it the mayor's breakfast. It is the council breakfast, but somehow or another, mayor fit on the advertising easier. The mayor's breakfast for West Grey is February 1st, and looking for anybody that would be interested in coming out for breakfast. It is a ticketed event and starts at 8 o'clock on February 1st. Get you ready for Groundhog Day if you want to head to Wyerton on February 2nd, but good breakfast, and it is yeah, correct. Newstead Hall? Yes, yeah. We've got too many halls. I just would, a little bit of a brain freeze there. At the Newstead Hall on February the 1st for that, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and be out of there by about 10:30, give or take. Give us an opportunity to showcase West Grey and business development and economic development, and everything else about what is great about West Grey and why we're here and what we can do to help out. So very good. Roma convention is conference is coming up, starting on this coming Sunday in Toronto at the Sheraton. I know a number of council members are going, and I think Madam CEO, we've got it out there already. We have four. I guess I'm with a couple of other groups, one with the county and one with TAPMO, and a couple of other minister meetings. So it'll be a very busy opportunity down at Roma at the conference to get caught up with fellow municipalities on where we're at, and a good learning experience. So we will see you down there. On anybody that's going, we'll see you there on Sunday. And we've already got it out there with a number of ministries that we're meeting. Solicitor General, can you give the names there, Madam CEO?
Yes,
I get lost.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we're meeting with the ministry, and we're meeting with all of the ministers, which is also very good for us. So the Ministry of Infrastructure is on Sunday. Then Mayor Eccles has a meeting with the Minister of Health, together with Brockton and Aaron Eldersley. And then the group delegations continue with the Ministry of People. No, yeah, see, now you've got me. Business. Thank you. Business Service Delivery. And I'm hoping that we receive an invitation to participate in a final delegation with Aaron Eldersley and the Ministry of Health. That one I'm just getting the details on.
Of course, the two with health are dealing with their hospital and emergency care and keeping their emergency departments open, and whatnot. So two opportunities there. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Seeing that is it for announcements. We do have a closed session. Yes, but I think we'll take a short recess again, and we'll come back and enter into closed session. So let's take 5 minutes and get ready for closed session when we come back. Thank you. Hmm?
Resume back and open this.
Yep. Okay. We ready down there, Cody? All right, we'll call the meeting back to order. Thank you very much. Everybody's back online for a minute or two. I have a motion to, the council does now move into closed session to consider minutes of the closed session meeting November the 7th. And one matter regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal affecting the municipality and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to negotiations respecting OPA 11. We have a mover and a seconder to move into closed session. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, we are now into closed.
2 seconds.
Yep. I was meaning we as council are. That's what we get into, that technology problem, and we talked about that earlier with Ms. Ratcliffe about her abilities. to the open portion of the council meeting. I'd just like to state that during closed session of council the council reviewed the minutes of the closed session from November 7th, 2023, and discussed one matter regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to negotiations respecting OPA 11, and direction was provided to staff. That was the only things that we went in, and the only things that we discussed. Thank you. That's the report from closed session. I believe we're down to adjournment. And with all items completed on the agenda, I'll declare council meeting of January the 16th adjourned. Thank you very much. We'll see everyone back here at 2 o'clock for a public meeting on planning. Official plan amendment or no, just a public meeting.